My father paid my fiancé $50,000 to leave me and marry my cousin instead. When I found the email proving it, my entire world shattered in the span of 3 seconds. I'd been working late at my apartment, finishing up a quarterly report for the accounting firm where I worked. James, my fiancé of 4 years, had texted saying he was staying over at his place that night because of an early morning meeting. We were supposed to get married in 6 months. The invitations were already ordered. My dress was hanging in my closet, wrapped in protective plastic. I was exhausted, my eyes burning from staring at spreadsheets for 12 hours straight. I reached for my phone to set an alarm and saw James's laptop sitting on the coffee table. He'd left it here yesterday. The screen was still on, just dimmed. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't the kind of person who went through their partner's things. But the email notification at the top of his screen caught my eye because the sender's name was my father's. My hand moved before my brain could stop it. Subject line: Our arrangement. I clicked it open. My father's words burned into my retinas. James, I've transferred the remaining $25,000 to your account as we discussed. That brings the total to $50,000 as agreed. I know this isn't easy, but Mia can give you the life Sarah simply can't. Her family's connections in the marketing world will advance your career faster than my daughter ever could. Mia's trust fund alone is worth more than Sarah will make in her lifetime. You're making the smart choice. When you break the engagement, keep it clean. Don't mention our conversations. Sarah doesn't need to know about this. She'll move on eventually. She always does what's practical. James's response, sent just 3 hours ago. I understand, Mr. Richardson. I care about Sarah, but you're right about the opportunities with Mia. I'll end things this weekend. Thank you for helping me see clearly. The money will help me start fresh. I read it 3 times. Then 4. Then I lost count. My own father had paid my fiancé to dump me for my cousin. Mia. Beautiful bubbly Mia with her lifestyle Instagram and her trust fund and her family's marketing empire. We'd grown up together, celebrated birthdays together, shared secrets as teenagers. She was at every family holiday, every reunion. She was supposed to be my bridesmaid. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the couch, trying to breathe through the vice crushing my chest. 4 years. 4 years of building a life with James. 4 years of compromise and planning and dreaming about our future. 4 years of introducing him to my family. Of Sunday dinners at my parents' house where my father would pat James on the back and call him son. All of it was a transaction. All of it had a price tag. I sat there in the dark of my apartment, my laptop forgotten, the quarterly report abandoned. The numbers on my screen blurred into meaningless shapes. I'd spent my whole life being good with numbers, being practical, being responsible. My father had always praised those qualities. Apparently they weren't worth $50,000. The worst part wasn't even the betrayal. The worst part was the voice in my head that sounded exactly like my father saying, "She always does what's practical." He knew I wouldn't fight. He knew I'd accept it quietly, gracefully, the way I'd accepted every other disappointment in my life. The way I'd accepted that Mia was the pretty one, the fun one, the one everyone wanted at their parties. The way I'd accepted being the serious one, the boring one, the one who worked late on Friday nights instead of going out. I looked at my engagement ring. James had proposed on a beach in Santa Monica at sunset. He'd gotten down on one knee and told me I was his best friend, his partner, the person he wanted to grow old with. I'd cried happy tears. My mother had cried when I called her. My father had shaken James's hand and welcomed him to the family. All of it was a lie. Or maybe it wasn't a lie at the beginning, but my father had made it one. I could confront them. I could screenshot this email and send it to everyone. I could show up at Sunday dinner and throw it in my father's face. I could call Mia and ask her if she knew, if she was part of this. But I didn't do any of that. Instead, I sat there until the sun came up, and I made a different choice. I made the choice that would prove my father wrong about every single thing he thought he knew about me. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Then I called my landlord and asked about breaking my lease early. Then I called a lawyer. By the time James texted me asking if I wanted to grab dinner that weekend, I already had a plan. I met him at our usual spot, a quiet Italian restaurant where we'd celebrated anniversaries. He was fidgeting with his napkin, clearly nervous. He'd probably been rehearsing his breakup speech all day. "Sarah," he started, his voice gentle in that condescending way that made my skin crawl now. I've been thinking a lot about us lately. And It's okay, I interrupted, my voice perfectly calm. I know. His face went white. You know, I know you're going to end our engagement. I know you've been having doubts. And honestly, James, I've been feeling the same way. The lie came out smooth as silk. I think we've grown apart. We want different things. It's nobody's fault. I watched him process this, saw the relief flood his features, and felt absolutely nothing. You're being so understanding about this, he said, reaching for my hand. I pulled it back. I just want us both to be happy, I said. You should be with someone who fits your ambitions. Someone who can give you the life you want. His eyes flickered with something. Guilt, maybe. Or recognition that I was quoting my father's words back to him without him realizing it. You deserve someone who appreciates you, he said, still trying to play the good guy. Yes, I agreed. I do. I took off my engagement ring and placed it on the table between us. 4 years, reduced to a small circle of metal and stone. Keep it, I said. Sell it. Do whatever you want with it. I left him sitting there, probably relieved at how easy I'd made it, how I'd given him the clean break my father had paid for. I didn't cry until I got home. Then I cried for 3 hours straight. The kind of crying that leaves you hollow and raw. I cried for the 4 years I'd wasted. I cried for the father I thought I had. I cried for the cousin I'd trusted. I cried for every family dinner I'd have to endure, every wedding and holiday where I'd have to watch James and Mia together and pretend I didn't know the truth. When I was done crying, I made myself a promise. I would never ever let anyone make me feel worthless again. I would never let my value be determined by someone else's price tag. And I would show my father exactly how wrong he was about what I could achieve. 2 weeks later, I was on a plane to Singapore. I'd accepted a position as senior accountant at a fintech startup that was making waves in the Asian market. The CEO had been trying to recruit me for 6 months, but I'd turned him down because of James, because we were planning a wedding, because I was being practical. Screw practical. I told my mother I was taking a career opportunity abroad. I told my brother I needed a fresh start. I didn't tell anyone about the email. I didn't tell anyone what my father had done. I just left. My father called me the day before my flight. Sarah, this is very sudden. Don't you think you're being impulsive? No, Dad, I said. I think I'm being practical. This is a great opportunity. You always told me to think about my career. But what about James? What about the wedding? James and I broke up. It was mutual. We wanted different things. Silence on the other end. I wondered if he was feeling guilty. I wondered if he even could. Well, he finally said. If you're sure this is what you want. It is. Mia will miss you at family events. My hand tightened on the phone. I'm sure she'll be fine. I hung up before he could say anything else. Singapore was hot, crowded, overwhelming, and absolutely nothing like home. Perfect. I threw myself into work with an intensity that surprised even me. The startup was small but ambitious, building financial technology solutions for underserved markets. The CEO, a sharp woman named Rachel Chen, had built the company from scratch and had no patience for mediocrity. I thrived. Turns out, when you're not spending your energy managing someone else's ego, when you're not making yourself smaller to fit someone else's vision of who you should be, you can accomplish extraordinary things. 6 months in, Rachel promoted me to controller. A year after that, CFO. By year 2, we were preparing for an IPO. I worked 100-hour weeks. I learned Mandarin. I built relationships with investors across 3 continents. I became the kind of person who got on planes without thinking twice, who made decisions worth millions of dollars, who commanded respect in boardrooms full of men twice my age. I also learned to be alone without being lonely. My apartment in Singapore was small but modern, high up in a building with views of the city skyline. I'd furnished it with things I actually liked, not things that matched James's aesthetic. I took up yoga. I joined a book club. I made friends with other expats who didn't know my history, didn't know about the wedding that never happened or the father who'd paid my fiancé to leave. Sometimes I thought about calling my brother and telling him everything. We'd always been close. But every time I reached for my phone, I remembered that he was still there, still part of that world, still having Sunday dinners with my father and Mia and probably James by now. I kept my distance. I sent birthday cards. I answered texts with brief, polite responses. I built a wall between my old life and my new one, and I didn't look back. Until the email from my brother arrived 3 years after I'd left. Sarah, I'm getting married. I know we haven't talked much since you moved, but you're my sister. I can't imagine getting married without you there. The wedding's in Portland in 3 months. Please come. It would mean everything to me and to Emma. We miss you. I stared at that email for a long time. 3 years. 3 years of carefully constructed distance. 3 years of building a life where I didn't have to think about what my father had done, where I didn't have to see Mia and James and pretend everything was fine. But this was Michael. My baby brother, the one who'd called me crying when his first girlfriend dumped him, who I'd helped with his college applications, who'd always believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. I couldn't miss his wedding. I called him. His face on the video screen was older, more mature, but his smile was the same. You'll come? He asked, hopeful. I'll come, I said. On one condition. Anything. I'm bringing someone. I hadn't planned to say it. But as soon as the words were out, I knew I meant them. Michael's eyes widened. You're seeing someone? Sarah. That's amazing. Of course bring him. Or them. Whoever makes you happy. His name is Daniel, I said. That much was true. There was a Daniel. Daniel Park, CEO of a venture capital firm based in Hong Kong. We'd met at a conference in Tokyo 6 months ago, hit it off over terrible hotel coffee and a shared disdain for corporate buzzwords. We'd been seeing each other when our schedules aligned, which wasn't often, but when we were together, it felt easy. Natural. Nothing like James. Daniel actually listened when I talked about my work. He challenged my ideas in ways that made me sharper, not smaller. He had his own ambitions and didn't need me to sacrifice mine to make room for his. When I called him after talking to Michael, he picked up on the second ring. How do you feel about meeting my family? I asked. Is this the family you haven't spoken to in 3 years? That's the one. Sounds terrifying. I'm in. I should probably mention that my ex-fiancé married my cousin and they'll likely be there. Silence. Then. Okay, now I'm definitely in. This sounds like it'll be the most interesting wedding I've attended all year. You're ridiculous. You like that about me? I did. God help me, I really did. The flight back to Portland felt longer than any flight I'd taken for business. Daniel dozed beside me, his hand loosely holding mine. We'd agreed to keep things low-key, not to make a big deal about our relationship. This wasn't about revenge or proving anything. Except it absolutely was, and we both knew it. Michael picked us up from the airport. He hugged me so hard I couldn't breathe, then shook Daniel's hand with the kind of enthusiastic energy that made me remember why I'd missed him. I'm so glad you're here, he kept saying. Emma can't wait to meet you. Mom's been cooking for 2 days straight. Dad's pretending he's not emotional, but he absolutely is. My stomach tightened at the mention of my father. Mia and James will be there too, Michael added, glancing at me carefully. I invited them before I knew. I mean, I didn't know if it would be weird for you. It's your wedding, I said. Everyone who matters to you should be there. The rehearsal dinner was at a nice restaurant downtown. I'd chosen my outfit carefully. A navy dress that was professional but not uptight, elegant but not trying too hard. Daniel wore a suit that probably cost more than my first car but looked effortless on him. We walked in together, and I watched the room notice us. My mother saw me first. She gasped, dropped her wine glass on the table, and ran over to hug me. Sarah. Oh, sweetheart, you look wonderful. And you must be Daniel. Michael told us about you. My father stood more slowly. He looked older, grayer. He shook Daniel's hand, sized him up the way fathers do, and said, It's good to see you, Sarah. You too, Dad. Mia was there with James. She'd cut her hair short and gained some weight. She still looked beautiful, but there was something tight around her eyes, something strained. James had lost hair and gained muscle, the kind that comes from spending too much time at the gym avoiding home. They both stared when they saw me. Sarah, Mia said, her voice too bright. Oh my God, it's been forever. Look at you. Hi, Mia. James. James nodded, not quite meeting my eyes. Good to see you. The dinner was exactly as awkward as I'd expected. I sat between Michael and Daniel, answering questions about Singapore, about my job, about how Daniel and I met. My mother kept reaching over to touch my hand, as if making sure I was real. My father was quieter than usual, watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Mia kept trying to engage me in conversation, asking about my apartment, my social life, whether I missed Portland. James said almost nothing, just pushed food around his plate and refilled his wine glass too often. So what do you do, Daniel? My father finally asked. I run a venture capital firm, Daniel said easily. We focus on fintech and sustainable technology in the Asia-Pacific region. Venture capital, my father repeated. That's quite lucrative, I imagine. Dad, I said quietly, a warning in my voice. I'm just making conversation, Sarah. It can be, Daniel said, unbothered. But Sarah makes more than I do. Her company went public last year. She's done remarkably well. The table went silent. You went public? My father said, looking at me. Your startup went public? Yes, I said. Last June. We rang the bell at the Singapore exchange. It was a good day. Why didn't you tell us? My mother asked. Because you chose me as trust fund over my potential. Because Dad thought I wasn't worth investing in. Because I built this without any of you, and I needed to prove I could. It was busy, I said instead. Everything happened very fast. Mia's face had gone pale. That's amazing, Sarah. Congratulations. James was staring at his plate like it held the secrets of the universe. My father cleared his throat. Well, that's quite an achievement. Thank you. The conversation moved on, but I felt my father's eyes on me for the rest of the evening. After dinner, when people were mingling over drinks, my father pulled me aside. Sarah, can we talk? Sure, Dad. We stepped out onto the restaurant's patio. It was a clear night, Portland's lights spread out below us. I owe you an apology, he said. I waited. When you left for Singapore, I thought you were running away. I thought you were being impulsive, emotional. I was worried about you. Were you? I was wrong. He continued. About a lot of things. You've built an incredible career. You've made something of yourself that I didn't see coming. No, I agreed. You didn't. James and Mia, he started, then stopped. Things didn't work out the way I'd hoped. How did you hope they'd work out, Dad? He looked at me then, really looked at me. I saw him realize that I knew. Saw the calculation in his eyes as he tried to figure out how much I knew. You saw the emails, he said quietly. I saw them. Sarah, did Mia know? I asked. Did she know you paid him? No, she didn't. She thought he chose her on his own. So you didn't just betray me. You manipulated her too. He flinched. I thought I was helping both of you. I thought Mia needed someone stable, and I thought James needed someone who could advance his career. I thought you needed someone who could appreciate you properly, and James wasn't that person. So you decided to play God with all our lives. I made a mistake. You put a price on your daughter, I said, my voice shaking now. $50,000. That's what I was worth to you. Less than Mia's trust fund, less than James's ambition. Just $50,000 to make me go away. That's not what I meant. Do you know what the worst part is? I interrupted. You were right. James wasn't worth my time. Mia's trust fund is impressive. Your investment in him probably would have paid off if he'd actually married her for the right reasons. You made all the right calculations. Then why are you angry? Because I'm your daughter. The words exploded out of me. I'm your daughter, and you should have invested in me. You should have believed in me. You should have told James that I was the catch, not Mia. You should have threatened him if he even thought about leaving me. But instead, you paid him to go. You taught me that even my own father doesn't think I'm worth fighting for. He looked stricken. Old. Tired. I'm sorry, he said. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I know you are, I said. But here's the thing, Dad. I learned my worth without you. I built my success without your investment. I found someone who chooses me every single day without needing 50,000 reasons to do it. So your apology, while I'm sure it's sincere, doesn't actually change anything. Can you forgive me? I thought about it, really thought about it. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe someday. But right now, I'm here for Michael. Not for you. Not for Mia. Not for James. I'm here because my brother is getting married and I love him. Don't mistake my presence for forgiveness. I walked back inside before he could respond. Daniel was waiting for me near the bar. He just handed me a glass of wine and said, "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I really am." The wedding itself was beautiful. Michael and Emma looked so happy, so utterly in love that I found myself genuinely joyful for the first time in days. This was what love should look like. This was what choosing each other should feel like. At the reception, I watched Mia and James from across the room. They sat at their table barely speaking to each other. Mia checked her phone every few minutes. James drank steadily through the evening. When the DJ played a slow song, they didn't dance. I learned later, from my mother who'd always loved to gossip, that their marriage was hanging by a thread. James had cheated 6 months ago. Mia had found out but stayed because her Instagram brand was built around their perfect couple image. James stayed because he'd left his job to manage Mia's influencer career. And he had nowhere else to go. My father's $50,000 investment had bought them both a cage. When the DJ called for the bouquet toss, Emma looked right at me and grinned. I shook my head, but she was insistent. A group of women gathered on the dance floor, including Mia, who joined with a forced smile. Emma turned around, counted to 3, and threw the bouquet directly at me. I caught it on instinct. The room erupted in cheers. Daniel was laughing. Michael was giving me a thumbs up. My mother was crying, happy tears. Mia was staring at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Sadness, maybe. Or regret. Or just exhaustion from pretending everything was fine. I felt, surprisingly, nothing but pity for her. "Guess that means you're next," someone called out. Daniel came over, took my hand, and pulled me onto the dance floor. "What do you say?" he asked, his voice low. "Want to make an honest man out of me? Are you seriously asking me to marry you at my brother's wedding?" "God, no. That would be tacky. I'm asking if you'd be okay with me asking you next month in Bali. I've already got the ring." I stared at him. "You have a ring. I've had it for 2 months. I was waiting for the right moment. But seeing you catch that bouquet, seeing you stand here after everything you've been through, looking absolutely unbothered by all these people who hurt you, I don't want to wait anymore." That's the least romantic proposal preview I've ever heard. The actual proposal will be better. I've been working on it. You're ridiculous. You keep saying that. You keep proving it. Is that a yes? I looked around the room. At my brother dancing with his new wife. At my mother chatting with Emma's parents. At my father watching me from across the room with something that might have been pride or might have been regret. At Mia and James at their table. 2 people trapped in a life built on lies and money and all the wrong reasons. I thought about the last 3 years. About the late nights and early mornings. About learning to value myself. About building something real. "Yes," I said to Daniel. "It's a yes." We danced while my family watched. When the song ended, my father appeared beside us. "May I?" he asked, gesturing to me. I looked at Daniel, who squeezed my hand and stepped back. My father and I danced in awkward silence for a moment before he spoke. "I know you said you're here for Michael," he said. "But I hope you know how proud I am of you. What you've accomplished." "Don't," I said quietly. "Please don't try to take credit for my success. You didn't invest in me. You didn't believe in me. I did this in spite of you, not because of you." "I know. Do you? Because you spent my entire life telling me to be practical, to be sensible, to not reach too high. And the second I started actually achieving something extraordinary, you decided I wasn't good enough and paid someone to leave me. You taught me that I had to leave everything I knew to prove my worth. And you did," he said. "You proved it. I shouldn't have had to." The song ended. I stepped back. "I need to go," I said. "Daniel and I have an early flight tomorrow. Will you come back?" he asked. "For holidays? For visits?" "For Michael," I said. "When he needs me, I'll be here. But Dad, you and we're not going to have Sunday dinners anymore. We're not going to be the family we were. You broke that, and I'm not interested in pretending it's fixed just because you're sorry. What about Mia? What about her? She's your cousin. You grew up together. She married the man you paid to leave me. Whether she knew about the money or not, she chose to be with him. She made her choice. I've made mine." I walked away from him, back to Daniel, back to the life I'd built without any of them. My mother caught me before we left, pulling me into a fierce hug. Come back soon, she whispered. Please. I've missed you so much. I will, Mom. I promise. Michael and Emma walked us out. Michael hugged me goodbye and said, I'm really glad you came. And I'm really glad you're happy. Me too, little brother. Me too. On the plane back to Singapore, Daniel held my hand and asked, How do you feel? Lighter, I said. I thought seeing them again would make me angry. Or sad. But mostly I just feel free. No regrets? About leaving? About building my life somewhere else? About saying no to forgiveness? I thought about it. Not even a little bit. Good, he said. Because I have a confession. I didn't just come to your brother's wedding to meet your family. I also came to see if there was anything here worth competing with. And I'm very happy to report that Singapore has everything you need. Including me. I laughed, the kind of genuine laugh I hadn't heard from myself in years. You're absolutely ridiculous. You keep saying that like it's a bad thing. It wasn't. 3 months later, Daniel proposed on a beach in Bali at sunset. He got down on one knee and told me I was his partner, his equal. The person who challenged him to be better every single day. I said yes without hesitation. We got married 6 months after that in a small ceremony in Singapore with 20 people who actually mattered. My mother came. Michael and Emma came. A few close friends from work, from my book club, from the life I'd built. My father sent a card with a check inside. I tore up the check and donated the card to recycling. Mia sent a message on Instagram. Congratulations, Sarah. You look so happy. I read it, thanked her politely, and never responded to another message. James didn't reach out at all. My life now looks nothing like the life I'd planned with James all those years ago. I don't live in Portland. I don't have the house with the white picket fence. I don't have the Sunday dinners with extended family. Instead, I have a partnership built on mutual respect. I have a career that challenges me. I have a life that spans continents and cultures. I have the kind of success that my father couldn't have bought for me even if he'd wanted to. I have worth that nobody can put a price tag on. Sometimes people ask me if I ever forgave my father. The answer is complicated. I don't hate him. I don't wish him ill. But I also don't let him back into the intimate spaces of my life. He gets birthday calls and occasional updates. He doesn't get to walk me down the aisle or meet his grandchildren first or have opinions about my marriage. He made his choice. I made mine. And my choice was to stop letting other people define my value. My choice was to build a life so full and rich and successful that betrayal became irrelevant. My choice was to prove that the best revenge isn't anger or confrontation or making them pay. The best revenge is building something so beautiful that you forget you ever needed revenge at all. When I look back now at that night when I found the email, at the moment when my world shattered, I can finally see it clearly. My father didn't destroy my life. He just showed me that the life I was living was too small for who I was meant to become. In the end, that $50,000 was the best investment he never meant to make, because it bought me something he never anticipated. It bought me freedom.